Timcast IRL will be live in Miami with Patrick Bet David, Donald Trump Jr., Matt Gaetz, and Luke Rudkowski. Join us there. Get your tickets by clicking the link in the description below or by going to timcast.com. You know how long the American Revolution took?
8 years or something?
20 years.
20 years, right.
Started, I believe it was 1764
Right.
was the beginning of what we describe as the Revolutionary period. And could you imagine?
And that was a little
1764.
Mob, if you look at
and then the
George
first
Washington's army.
battle started in 1775. And then a year and a month later, the founding fathers signed the Declaration of Independence. So hold on there a minute.
We didn't have
You've
a
got
constitution until 87.
A decade of people being oppressed and beaten down and nothing. And then it's 11 years later when the regulars come into Boston and say, it's a simplified chain of events. Boston Tea Party, there was the Tea Act or whatever, made it easier for the East India Trading Company.
Stamp Act, all that
Was it the
stuff?
Stamp Act? Yeah, the British Crown was trying to essentially bail out the East India Trading Company. To a certain degree, it's how we view it. And this made it more difficult for American tea producers to trade. And they're like, you're bringing in this tea from outside of here when we're trying to trade here. So they dump it into the ocean. The Crown then says, you got to pay all that back. They say, no, we don't. And they say, then you are in rebellion. And we're deploying regulars to Boston to get things under control. So then the people in Boston said, outside of the city, we're the law. Then the regulars were like, were ordered, go take their weapons away. They are not the law. And these people said, enough. And then the first shots were fired.
And there was quartering.
And nobody knows exactly who, according to the stories, they say it's not sure who fired the first shot, but I believe it was the Americans who fired on a regular and may have killed one of them. It's interesting because what I read. It's
entirely possible that we just killed some
wasn't Crispus
civilian.
Attucks the first man killed?
But
it doesn't matter.
But my point is, a lot of people are screaming 1776, blah, blah. And I'm like, dude, the history of the American Revolution is not like a bunch of founding fathers got together smugly and proudly wrote these brilliant things and said, there must be independence, banged a gavel, delivered it to the king. And the king went, oh, harumph, I say. The king was sending troops to rebellious colonies for a decade before fighting actually broke out. So what we're looking at right now with the rise of public square, one of the most powerful tools.
You're making a great point here as well, because it was an awful lot of pamphleteering in coffee houses that sort of raised consciousness. And that's really what we're doing here. Like I said, the war isn't over, and it's not that we've lost. We just need to know what we need to do to win it. You know, we need to be serious about the scale of the opposition. I mean, it literally is something akin to the British Empire that we're staring down here. You know, a giant globe-spanning
It's important to remember that John Adams defended the British soldiers in the Boston Massacre because he believed in due process,
principle,
you know, and those kinds of natural rights and freedoms.
Yeah,
I think that's really key.
And I feel like a significant problem, and we talking about schools earlier. That's where the big disconnect is. We've raised multiple generations of children that do not hold even the founding principles. They don't even know the founding principles. They don't know why property rights are important. They don't know what happens when you take property rights away from a society. They don't know why the rule of law, like why innocent before proven guilty is important. They don't understand because they haven't been taught. They've been taught almost exclusively the worst thing that can happen is someone could say something racist. Someone might understand what you say as being bigoted, as if the worst thing that's possible, the worst thing that they can imagine is hurting someone's feelings. And this is a massive, massive problem in our society.
Yeah, I agree with that as well.
I mean, I think that's why we had what happened in Canada. I think people don't understand history. They don't understand the implications of
You mean the Nazi in Parliament?
Nazi in Parliament, because they said, oh, well, he fought Russia and we hate Russia now. Everything is measured by a modern standard, and it leaves especially the youngest generation completely lost. I think your point's completely valid. I think the right does need to decide what they are objectively building towards. If you don't have a blueprint for a building, it's going to be very difficult to come up with something. And ultimately, I think that's why the right is unable to organize, because they don't share a common vision. And I think furthermore, that's because we think, oh, well, we'll just let everyone be on their own and they'll make their own decisions and they'll have their own values and everything will be fine. And we know that's a failing system.
But I think, Tim, I think you're making a really good point that I hadn't really thought about, to be honest. That is a great point. 20-year war man. And we're in the early stages with the coffee houses pamphleteering right now. I mean, I don't doubt that the King's men would have gone into a coffee house and taken all the pamphlets and beaten all the people in there who are spreading around. And we're those guys who are getting whacked with the stick now. And that's fine.
But fortunately,
we've got to carry on.
Crowbats.
We've got to keep pamphleteering.
Fortunately, for those who are meeting and having conversations to this degree about winning a culture war, building culture, we're not actually having the King's men come into our homes and take from us. Right. But we have a Third Amendment, so we're still protected to a certain degree. But what we are dealing with is censorship. And so they are ripping the papers from us and, kicking people out of the public square, as it were. Yeah. But I'm grateful that it is not violent conflict. And I hope that doesn't come to be. The worrying thing is with things like January 6th and with the 529 far left attacks on the White House, these things, it's worrisome. Aaron Danielson being shot twice that was his name, right? Aaron Danielson.
It was.
You mean when Michael Reinhold did it?
Shot him twice in the chest. These are scary things. And so a lot of people, I will tell you this, the last thing anyone needs right now is real conflict. What we need right now is, in the truest sense of the founding fathers, writing pamphlets and using pseudonyms and spreading the ideas and building the sentiment that eventually led to a shatter of confidence in the crown. And then the people in this country were like, look, the funny thing is, the Declaration of Independence, the reason we say that's the birth date of this country, despite the fact that it was actually, you could argue, the Treaty of Paris, which was, I think it was 1883. Was that what it was?
1883, the Treaty of Paris?
I'd have to look it up.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Was it Treaty of Paris? When we were basically like, okay, that's fine, the crown will stop fighting. To the American people, the moment we said we were independent, we were. To the crown, It wasn't until...
George said he would never accept it.
Treaty of Paris was signed September 3rd, 1783.
Yeah.
17.
And that was the official end of the American War for Independence, where the British crown finally recognized, okay, you're independent. But to us, we were independent for 6 years before that.
Sure. But I think you're totally right. Like the modern version of pamphleteering is obviously these podcasts, right?
Yeah.
So, we are all doing great work, but I think we can't be allowed to fall into complacency and think, we don't really need to do much else, right? Because the scope of the problem is huge.
Well, and this is the issue that some people are like, we're not winning, and they say it over and over and over again. Donald Trump said that the election was stolen, it was stolen, and then people didn't show up to vote in Georgia. And what should have been an easily won Senate seat for a Republican went to a Democrat somehow with all the polling. And there were interviews done where guys outside were like, what's the point? They stole it anyway. And Brianna Wu said she ran Trump's statements as advertisements in Georgia. I think said in Georgia. Or she used his statements as advertisements. I don't know if it was in Georgia. Because Trump was suppressing the vote by telling people you are losing. My point is, we have gained strategic grounds. We have tremendous victories in the culture war. And now we need to, when the enemy is breaking ranks, you don't say, all right, that's it, everybody, time to pack. And you say charge. Yeah. So now, Public Square is one of the most powerful tools. And look, I've
never even heard of this. What is this?
Public Square is an app where, in order to have, it's a list of businesses, and in order to be on it, you have to agree to American values. You can say, I support free speech, the Constitution, families, things like this. And so Cash Brew Coffee is on Public Square. We're huge fans. They're sponsoring our Miami event. They, I think they did a SPAC deal, so they went public. They're tremendously successful, and they're basically creating an anti-Amazon. They are going to, you download the app.
It's pretty cool.
Oh, it's amazing. Everyone download Public Square. You download the app, you sign up, you search for businesses in your area.
Is it only in America?
I believe it might be.
So far, but they're launching in Canada pretty soon.
Okay.
So check it out. Well, because what's it going to be? It's going to be like traditional British values in the UK. I think so. But
I mean, we can literally have the standard would be: do you agree with the values of Magna Carta? That's literally where I mean this whole thing with Russell Brand is actually a violation of the Magna Carta. This is literally a textbook violation.
Check this out. Okay, you pull up the map, and it will show you all the businesses in your area that support your values.
That sounds great.
And so this maximizes boycott potential. So for us in West Virginia, I know a lot of businesses support our values. They haven't heard of Public Square. We got to get them to figure it out, because we can pull up restaurants, and we know that by them being on Public Square, for one, they're probably fans. So we know we're going to be welcome there. And we know that our money is going to go to someone who is helping their children, who believes in this country, and we keep the money in our parallel economy, and we start to strip the resources from the woke corporations. Let them go.
No, dude, I'm totally on board. I think this is brilliant.
I didn't even use the near me thing. That's
I had
clever.
never even heard of this. How have I never heard
And
of
they
this?
just went. I mean, they've only been around for like a year. They went public a couple months ago. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
but I can't
new,
believe
but
that
blew
no
up.
one's tweeted at me being like, dude, have you heard of this? This is right up your
But
street.
it's probably because it's not
It's
available
amazing,
in the UK.
Maybe, but I do a lot of stuff with
So
Americans, right?
with the Miami event, we're going to be giving out a bunch of. This is the plan. Okay, I'm not organizing the event. So my understanding is the people, my team who's working on it, have set up swag bags full of samples from all the companies that are on Public Square.
Yeah, brilliant.
I'm so excited.
That's great.
Yeah, and they're an official sponsor. So we're gonna have the CEO Michael Seifert. He's gonna be coming on IRL. I think the day before, and then he's gonna be on stage with Hannah Claire and Josie the Redhead Libertarian, talking about all this stuff. Yeah, this is gonna be super.
Oh,
epic.
Michael.
That's brilliant.
Nice.
Yeah,
It's gonna be great.
super excited. They are on the flagship in the culture war as far as I'm concerned. An anti-Amazon, and their success is just
This is exactly what I'm talking about. Organizational capacity. That's such a good thing. Is though, you know that the left is going to see this, right?
yes, of course.
They're going to be like, we don't think so.
What can they do?
Well, they can take you out of the.
It's
They already-
all it is an app that sells jerky and
I know,
T-shirts
but
and
they'll
pancake
fi-
mix.
They don't need a reason.
I agree.
Got
I
to
agree.
be real.
Parler,
They don't need
parler.
a reason.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.